Welcome, folks. It's nice to see you bright and early. Thanks for joining us today. Give it just another moment. Let some other folks log in. Hello, folks who are just joining us. Nice to see you. Thanks for being with us today. Oh, thanks, Lisa, for kicking us off with where you're from. Hello, I am in the Midwest as well. Good morning, folks. Good afternoon. Good evening, depending where you're coming in from. Thanks for being with us. So excited about our session today. We've got someone in the UK. Amazing. Oh, thanks for being here. Good evening. Good morning. Ooh, it is morning in Denver for sure.
Oh, very morning in California.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, thank you for being here. All right, folks. As you say hello in chat, keep sharing where you're from. Oh my gosh, it's international. I love this.
Yeah.
We've got someone from Kenya. Oh my gosh, Kenya, UK. Wonder what else we'll get. Okay, let's get going. Let's start this presentation off. I want to start off, first of all, just by welcoming you to the very first episode of our Unpromptable webinar series. Thanks so much for joining us. We created this series to deepen the conversation around the L&D and talent trends that are shaping our industry this year and beyond. And because there's so much to dig into, we'll be coming together every Thursday in March to share insights, ideas, and inspiration about the ever-evolving roles of the L&D leader and professional. We are so pleased to kick off the series with The Art of the Flex, leading L&D through a shifting AI landscape. It's my pleasure to share just a few notes about our presenters today. Bethany brings more than 2 decades of learning design experience to her work, with a focus on storytelling and script writing. She believes that the key to developing exceptional custom learning solutions can be found in relationship building, open communication, and creative collaboration. A literary magazine editor, playwright, voiceover artist, and award-winning fiction writer, Bethany loves the sea, superheroes, snorkeling, singing, and semicolons, as well as several things that don't start with the letter S. Joe also brings more than 20 years in L&D, with deep experience on both the creative side and the LMS performance and succession management side of the house. At SweetRush, he leads the solution architecture team within Client Solutions and is dedicated to finding creative world-class solutions for our client partners. Joe is an amateur musician and an avid cyclist. And out on the trail is where a lot of his best solution ideas are born. As the driving force between SweetRush's solution architecture, Joe is passionate about creating world-class learning experiences that truly make a difference. I see another person who loves semicolons right on, Kayla.
Yes.
Anybody
Thank
up
you,
for an
Kayla.
Oxford comma? Okay. All right. This is beginning well.
Yeah.
A quick word about SweetRush. For those of you who may be newer to us, we were founded in 2001 and have been a strong player in the L&D industry for the past 25 years. Just this January, we joined the NIIT family of world-class learning services. Our team offers strategic consulting, helping our clients positively impact their business through L&D, and we'll be sharing some of those experiences today. We're also extremely well known for our engaging, effective, and innovative custom learning solutions, which include emerging technologies like virtual and augmented reality and AI-powered learning experiences. We also have an extensive network of high-performing L&D professionals and subject matter experts, and we love sharing that wealth through our talent solutions services. Last but not least, it has been an honor to receive numerous industry awards for the solutions we develop with our amazing client partners. Now, without further ado, I'll hand things over to Bethany and Joe. Take it away.
Thanks, Tiffany. Okay, so to get started, we wanted to frame up our discussion with you with some key stats. We've all seen AI explode. 95% of organizations have invested in AI across various areas of their organization. So if you want to know just how widespread AI is, here you go. 95% of individual professionals report using it at work, often from personal accounts for their tools, or for tools that their company hasn't even officially provided yet. And I hear about this all the time. Our AI isn't good enough. I use my own GPT on the side. If I was in information security, I would be terrified.
Yeah.
66% of companies cite ROI as the number one challenge in using AI. So the honeymoon phase with experimentation is really over. It's time to start proving value.
Mm-hmm.
We want to pause here and invite you all to use the chat. How do these stats land with you? What does AI at scale look like for your organizations?
Joe, I have to say that 95% of people using it at work, that really surprised me. I'm surprised it was that high. Tiffany, anyone saying anything in the chat that we want to talk about?
No, just me. Actually, Jinx, I said the same thing.
Oh,
95% really surprised me. I had no idea that many had already invested. Folks, any thoughts about, oh, I'm seeing something. Melody's saying, I think that these are right. I assume this is normally knowledge workers driving these stats. We've got a question. So you think that we're not in the early adoption phase? It's a good question.
I would say that we are in the early adoption phase. We're getting past experimentation and it's time to put these things to work.
Makes sense. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
good. We've got someone else saying, my company is very enthusiastic about adding AI, that they have a strong desire to build it from within. Oh, wow. Pioneers. I like it. Nicole says, I've been told by IT we can use it, then we can't, then we can, and then we can't.
That sounds
It's
right.
confusing. Yes, I hear that. Vanna's asking, would that include Copilot? And as far as I know,
Absolutely.
Yes,
Copilot
for
does
sure.
have it.
Yep.
Yeah. Mary says AI encompasses a lot of things, so no, not surprising. Robert added, I think a lot of companies are concerned about IP still when using these platforms, which
Mm-hmm.
makes a lot of sense. Melody added, I think the issue is moving past having AI as a separate tool and
Mm-hmm.
things that are integrated into the process. And Copilot's a good example of actually integrating into the process and software. Gosh, we've got a lot of reaction. I love this. I love this. Catherine added circulating stats on enterprise Copilot packages endorsed by legal teams. Companies with AI policies and training would be encouraging and drive the right kind of FOMO for orgs, perhaps. I
Love
love some
that.
FOMO. I love some FOMO. Amazing. Amazing. Good. Oh, Robert added some platforms make big claims, but underdeliver an actual stress test.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Right. Yeah. And then we have another person, Jody Ann here, who's saying that their company is cautious about how confidential information may be handled. So going back to your comment about information security, Joe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, folks, for sharing. We'll come back to you on that.
Okay, so I think we can advance forward. I was at this AI conference a few weeks ago, and I got to hear Brandon Dickens from NIT talking about the three waves of learning. The first wave was apprenticeship. For centuries, learning was contextual. You didn't read about blacksmithing. You actually would stand next to a master and you would learn how to hit the metal. Learning and doing were the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so then in the second wave, think 1800s through 2000s, we adopted this industrial classroom model. As we needed to train thousands of workers or students at once, we really abstracted learning. We moved it into classrooms, into books, into e-learning. This created an application gap or a delay between when you learn something and when you actually use it. In the third wave today, we have AI finally collapsing that gap. Because AI can handle the grunt work or the base knowledge, a human can jump back into the master role, applying judgment and creativity immediately. So for learning professionals, we're seeing AI enable us to get back into the driver's seat of the experience for our learners. We're capturing internal expertise and just quickly delivering that within the flow of work.
Okay, so Joe, what I'm hearing then is that humans are necessary, which feels really
right.
great because we are in fact humans. So that makes me feel good. And that leads us to a phrase we've been using a lot here at Sweet Rush, which you can see on the screen. You are unpromptable. And what we're talking about here is that AI may be and is everywhere, but it cannot replace our insight. So the unpromptable factor is that uniquely human subjectivity, creativity and the deep empathy that we bring to the table as L&D learners. And there's this great quote that I want to share that's from our 2026 Trends Report that says, partnering with AI helps us extend the reach of our unpromptable in-house human wisdom and offer dynamic content that fosters connection and achieves results. Just love that. So there are a couple of researchers from the MIT Sloan School of Management who created a framework called EPIC. And EPIC encompasses 5 groups of human capabilities. And I just have to confess, I think it's kind of stretching the boundaries of what an acronym stands for. But Joe, can you walk us through what it does stand for?
Yeah, it definitely took a team of MIT researchers to come up with this. EPIC stands for, the E is for empathy and emotional intelligence. The P is for presence, networking, and connectedness. The O is for opinion, judgment, and ethics. C for creativity and imagination. H for hope, vision, and leadership. And so, although this does squeeze a lot into just one acronym, it really gets to the heart of what we mean by unpromptable. It's about adding the human touch.
Yes, this is about the things that you bring to the table as a human L&D leader.
Right. So let's take a look at how the co-creation between AI and humans have informed some of our client work.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about driving behavior change through AI co-creation. So there's this global hospitality company that I work with who wanted and truly needed to modernize skill acquisition for their employees. They needed to drive behavior change, which would result, hopefully, in more satisfied customers, which sounds great. Those employees needed a safe place to try and fail because we don't want to do that in front of actual customers. We needed their muscle memory to kick in when they were customer facing. And Joe, I think we both know that role plays, traditional role plays, are uncomfortable and ineffective. Although, you know me, I would volunteer every time for that. Not everyone's that comfortable getting up in front of the class and practicing. So what we did here was we used Gen AI to create simulations of customer interactions, different types of customer interactions, face-to-face, through chat and text, and through email. And what you're seeing here are some screenshots from the face-to-face example, where we're challenging learners to resolve problems from their customers. And on the next slide, we're going to see examples from chat and email simulations that we did. And in these and in our face-to-face simulation, we're using AI in 3 distinct ways. The first is that the AI is acting as the customer and they're reacting appropriately, which means if you resolve their problem, they're going to be really happy. And if you don't, they're going to get upset. And then we're using AI to calculate a score. And I'm definitely using finger quotes there because you're not getting a grade, but it's going to tell learners how well they did in that scenario. And then the third way we're using AI as a coach. They're providing real-time dynamic feedback that makes learning purposeful and immediate. And what all of this means is that we've shifted from static one-size-fits-all content to simulations that adapt to each learner's very specific performance. And I'm going to quote from our Trends Report again, there's no script. Any scenario or interaction can and does unfold in myriad ways.
So we're curious to the group, again, in the chat, if anybody else is leveraging AI to just drive behavior change like this. We'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Is anyone using simulations in this way, using AI in multiple ways in a learning product? Jody Ann says, I wish. I love that.
Aspirational. That's a good word to sum that up for teachers. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, wow. That's so cool, Catherine. I know that's been really effective. Oh my goodness. That's cool. Dreams.
That's great. And some of this stuff that we're seeing too, Tiffany, like the resident physicians comment and field teams, like these are all like, this is the cool thing. We're using AI, but we're doing it to practice human interaction, right? And showing up in a truly human way.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Bethany. Oh, Melissa has a good point here. I think this is a challenge for a lot of folks. Melissa's saying she doesn't know how to get started when the company needs a proof of concept before investing. That is a challenge for a lot of folks, I think. Oh,
Oh,
Robert
de-escal.
used
I'm sorry,
okay.
I jumped ahead,
Oh, I got
Tiffany.
so excited.
Sorry. Well, I just saw the comment from Erica about de-escalation techniques too. And I'm actually working on another project with a client where we're doing that. We're using AI to show de-escalation. And I mean, again, what a very human thing to have to deal with, right? Love that.
Absolutely. Robert used a chatbot, it looks like, for a learning product that would give advice during presentation-based training. That sounds interesting. Interview prep in a sort of smaller way, Melody
Hmm.
says. Ian works for a government body where they have legal requirements that preclude
Um,
allowing AI to quote unquote create things. Can assist, but origination must be done by the human. Oh, that's really interesting. Interesting. Oh, Stephanie mentioned that AI article by McKinsey about explainability that we were chatting about earlier. That's a great one.
nice.
Absolutely. Evaluation rubric. Ooh, they've got an evaluation rubric in the avatar training. It sounds a little bit familiar. I love that. Can simulate impact of interrupting others
Mm,
and kind of simulate the impact of voice volume on the oh, that's really
on the
interesting. That's very subtle.
hmm.
Interesting, folks. Oh, doing some R&D with AI in adaptive paths. That's the dream right there. That's awesome.
That's right.
Cool. Any final thoughts before we continue on?
Yeah, I think these are some great examples and love hearing about what people are exploring and hoping to explore. So let's move on. And I want to turn back to the epic qualities that Joe talked about earlier. So, in this simulation that I was talking about, where it's like face to face with an avatar, one of the biggest challenges that we had, and this is so human, was getting folks to demonstrate empathy. I don't know about you, Tiffany and Joe, but I can remember back in school having to talk about or explain the difference between sympathy and empathy. And I remember it felt really hard at the time. And it turned out it was really hard to get the AI to understand that as well. So when we were testing this, I would think that I was demonstrating empathy, and the AI would tell me that I wasn't. So there was a huge amount of training that went into just that piece alone, and it required deep human connection and the technical means to make it happen. It was a lot of trial and error just to get that empathy piece right.
And so, Bethany, that all sounds amazing, but it does sound like AI did a lot of the heavy lifting. Like, where is the co-creation and what's really unpromptable about this?
I am so glad that you asked, Joe. Okay, so these solutions are all great. And they literally would not have been possible before AI, but every single one of the things that I've talked about required human input. So I mentioned that this was all for a hospitality company. Hospitality is inherently about human connection, right? So it requires a human touch. And as we've seen in the chat, and we just know, it's certainly not the only industry where this is true. So that means that we need humans to help develop those scenarios, create those prompts, and develop the characters that feel authentic so that when learners are in these experiences, they're not having that, well, this doesn't feel real to me. And because the last thing that we want to do is take people out of the moment and make them feel like what they're interacting with isn't real or authentic. So, Joe, I also wanted to share another way that we've been using AI, and that's to create videos of customers and employees interacting. We're doing this to demonstrate what average service might look like, right? And then, hey, this is what really great service looks like. So, I want you to imagine how much easier this is than putting out a casting call, hiring a crew of actors, securing filming locations, flying stakeholders and me to the filming site, and spending a week doing that, right? So that's amazing, and it's time saving and it's money saving. And it also, this is one of my favorite things about it, it also allows us to easily cast characters who fully represent the diversity of humanity. And you can see some of that here on the screen. And that just warms my heart like you can't imagine.
It's great.
Okay, all that is wonderful, but I want to say there we need to think about too and recognize when AI is not the right solution. So I want you to think about a training solution that is focused on deeply human experiences that require a lot of care. And right now, and we know this is changing rapidly, but right now, AI generated avatars can't truly replicate expressions of fear, shame, anger, grief, disappointment. Look at this woman's face. She's very disappointed. And when we try to have the avatars demonstrate those emotions, they come across often as inauthentic, and that can take learners right out of the moment. So, Joe, I just said a whole lot of stuff about how leaders are using AI in their learning solutions to drive skill acquisition and behavior change.
You did. So let's put this out to the chat. Given what Bethany just shared, what's unpromptable at your organization? We'd love to know, just about any learning experiences that you want to keep strictly human.
Yeah, Tiffany, what are folks saying in the chat?
I've got a question from Sandra who says, this all
Okay.
looks amazing, and she's curious which tool you use to create these simulations.
Oh, good question. I don't have all the answers. I'm just the writer, but we use a lot of different tools internally. I know we use HeyGen. I know we use 11 Labs for audio. Joe, I don't know if you have insight into more of the tools that we use.
I don't, but plug for next week, we're going to have an AI expert on the call, and he would love to talk more about that.
Yeah.
Yes, our friend Adrienne. Ooh, I see Stephanie saying some custom-built simulations live in class, such as university milestones. Oh, that's really intriguing.
Yeah, that's
University
great.
milestones.
I will say that it's been fascinating working on these projects. We've been doing these for about, I guess, almost a year now. And the change in how the tools work, how the product that it puts out, every day, I swear it's getting better, more nuanced. Like I can show you photos of some of the people that we've created, and I think you would be hard pressed not to think that was a real person, which is amazing and unsettling at the same time, but it's really, a great option as opposed to like this thing here of going on site.
Yeah, Catherine's plus oneing on that, Bethany. Catherine said, you're so right. The avatars are looking more human. Absolutely. In that earlier slide with the three folks that you developed, I mean, they had like different facial expressions. You could see their shadow in the glass
Yeah.
behind the counter. That was amazing.
Yeah. And
That,
I mean, just to go back to it for just a second, Tiffany, I so deeply love how nuanced we can make them look, right? We're talking, ethnicity, gender representation, height, a disability, weight. There's so much we can do that, yeah, you can put out a casting call for folks like that, but you don't know what you're going to get. This allows us to, for example, for the hospitality organization, they have an enormous global footprint. And how validating is it to see folks that look like you on screen, especially even like when you're casting for something like this video that we're seeing here, you know, you get what Hollywood can give you or wherever you're casting the video. Whereas with AI, we can just really say, I want this person to look exactly like this and sound like this as well.
that is awesome. Yeah, you are kind of limited by who's in your locale and maybe a self-selected group of folks
Hmm.
who are actors. Melody just added something really interesting here. Melody says, I was surprised how fast you quote unquote forget you are talking to an avatar in a role play simulation. It opens up the areas where they can be used effectively, in my opinion. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree with that too.
Nice. Thank you, folks, for chiming in. It's been very rich.
Yeah.
Move on.
So, oh, we've got another question before I keep going, Tiffany.
Oh, yeah, we sure do. Thanks, Elizabeth. Elizabeth asks, when a learner response is captured and analyzed, how long does that take before the sim continues?
That's a great question. And I'm thrilled to say fast because when we first started, like when that one that I showed you at the beginning that had the cartoon avatar, when we started that 2 years ago, the delay in getting that response from the AI, we had a message that was basically like, please be patient. Now it just happens. And in the chat simulation and in the email simulation, you're getting almost instantaneous feedback. The one that takes a little longer is the face-to-face one is analyzing your voice. So if you talk for like say 30 seconds in your problem resolution comment, it does need a bit of time to analyze that, but then it's going to give you that feedback.
Mm, mm. Oh, we've got another question right behind that one.
Okay.
Melissa asks, the possibilities are pretty huge, but how do you determine which tools are the most appropriate for certain assets? Good question.
That sounds like a talk about it next week question. But
Gotcha.
that I mean the answer to that question really is, we're working in partnership with our clients and we're working really closely with our technical folks here and our creative folks here at Sweet Rush to determine the right tools for this for the solution.
It's always driven by the learning first approach, not a tool first approach.
Yep.
Oh, and Stephanie's got one. Do you think that real people are more engaging than the avatars created by SweetRush's awesome design team? Never mind. Cartoonish characters aren't easily processed. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Stephanie, when we started this a couple years ago with that cartoon one, like that's what we had to work with at the time. And now, as you can see from the slide before the one we're on right now, the people were so realistic looking, and I think listening to them have a conversation is going to feel pretty close to what you're seeing in this live action video right here. So, and like I said, every day it's getting better and better. But I do totally agree with you that there is a distance when you've got like a cartoon avatar there. Although that might be appropriate for certain industries, certain learning populations, and stuff like that.
Oh,
Okay.
Stephanie
Oh, sorry.
started working with SweetRush in 2005. Love the whole team. I had to read that one out loud.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah, we definitely
Stephanie.
have to.
Absolutely. Gotta love the love. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Mary asks, maybe this isn't a uniquely AI issue, but how do you guard against cultural biases? Oh, that's a really important one.
That's a really good question. I think it really starts with the relationship with the client and working together to be you're constantly communicating, you're constantly making sure that you understand their learner population and what they need and how we want to show up for them in the solutions that we create. So I know that at the beginning when Tiffany was reading my bio, she talked about like open communication. I feel is critical to developing really great learning. And this is a great example, Mary. So thank you for the question of when you need to be, candid and honest and open about these conversations. And especially if I don't know that part of the learning population, I need to work really closely with my client to understand them and deliver something that will be effective for them and guard against those biases.
That's such an important topic to discuss. Gosh, we've got all kinds of questions rolling in. Jennifer's got some for us. Okay,
Okay.
Jennifer asks, how do you address detractors? Does it impact interaction and outcomes? As cool as AI can be, I am the type who immediately recoils at the idea of interacting with an AI avatar, especially in relation to something like empathy.
That's a really good question. And I appreciate it because I don't think it's something that, especially for this project, that we really investigated that with the client. But that's worth discussing going forward because they have to have users that are feeling just like Jennifer, right? I don't want to do this. I want to do it with a person, or I want to do it in those awkward role plays, right? So I appreciate the question. I don't have an answer for that, but I am gonna go forward with it and think about it with my client. So thank you.
Okay, there are a couple that might be next week questions, but I'll put them
Okay.
out there. So we've got Kathleen asking, how do you estimate the working time needed to develop an avatar scenario?
Hmm.
I know that is an ever evolving question and a challenge for us, and I'm sure other people. Um, but in doing it repeatedly, we kind of know how long it's going to take for us to now populate these avatars for us to go back, and we understand now that there's a lot more time put into the perfection of the language model. And so that's what we're taking into account when we're trying to anticipate the time that it's going to take. And we're actually going to talk about that a little bit later too, is just that these AI tools make content development really fast, but actually there's a lot more work then in perfecting and QAing the outputs of the AI these days.
Sure
Yeah.
thing. Absolutely. Jennifer also had another question about data collection. I think that might be a question for next week about how it's stored.
Yeah.
So Jennifer,
Yes.
we're going to keep that on our radar. Please
Yeah.
come
Don't
back
ask the
with us.
writer that question.
Yes. Okay. Oh, and Stephanie's got a question. Do you think that standards, tools, and templates, as well as a starter kit, would help people get started?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yep. That's
In
just a
these
straight up
cases
yes.
that Bethany's shown, we're kind of sticking to a cast of characters. We create a couple of new characters with each new scenario, but largely, relying on the previous IP that we've created.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. Got a couple comments here. Melody adds, I think always pilot where possible. Heck yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
look for the easy wins to sway detractors, in my opinion. Absolutely. Absolutely. Robert adds, for detractors, I think a good UX director would consider that in edge cases.
Mm.
Mhm.
Jennifer adds that she's always trying to keep an open mind, but certainly gives her pause. You're not the
Totally
only one. I
understand.
hear that. I hear that. Oh, James wonders, are we only using AI and Sims for business related use cases, or do we use them for compliance training as well? That's a good one.
I don't know, Joe, if you have any thoughts on that. I know like the client work that I'm doing, we have done it just for the business use cases, but I don't know what's happening in the broader SweetRush world.
Yeah, it just depends on the use case of the compliance. Like a lot of what we're building is built around kind of interpersonal simulations, but there's a definite use case for, AI that can watch how you're behaving within an application and could start pointing out compliance issues that are happening on the spot.
Mm. Oh, that's interesting. Melody asks, how much easier is iteration with AI in the flow for simulations? That might be a next week one. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think so.
We'll we'll save that, Melody. Come back with us next week, same time, different Zoom link. Okay. Oh, I think Jody Ann has also got one that maybe next week, recommended AI tools for specific usage.
Yep.
That's probably one to save, yeah.
Mhm.
And finally, Catherine's got something, sounds like an unpromptable use case that resident physicians often learn about empathetic interactions with patients in
Mm.
live patient sim exercises.
Wow.
But the avatar activity is similar and much lower cost. And Catherine's talking about kind of balancing that, live training when the objective is to teach empathy, but with this, weighing also the cost consideration. So that's
That
really,
feels so spot on too. And I think, Catherine, like the idea of can we practice these things in a simulation and then move on and do some work face to face, right? And that both of those things help build that muscle memory. But the cool thing about the sim too is like you can't always have someone right there to practice with. The sim is available. You're in the middle of the night and you wake up, I need to do problem resolution, and you can just wake up and do it. So I think
thank
there's use
goodness.
cases for both things.
Absolutely. It's more of a landscape of options than one or the other.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ah, good. Oh, Catherine adds safe to fail environment too.
Yes,
And
love that.
Mary says, feels like there's space for both. I would
Yeah,
agree with that for
very
sure.
cool.
Thank you, folks, for that conversation.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to think about a bigger picture, right, Joe? And that's the role that AI plays more holistically within an organization.
That's right. I think we're all seeing, just being in L&D, that we have to take our organization's culture and ways of working into account while we're integrating AI into our work.
Hmm.
And also, because employees are definitely already using at least personal AI, it's time to get ahead of this. And so here's an important point. The same AI solution that can succeed at one organization could stall or even fail in another. And like we were just talking about with our questions in the chat, that's why these pilots are so important. But really, the point at which they can fail is based on the fact that each organization really has its own culture, and AI integration isn't just a technology decision; it is a cultural one. So there's this, narrative that AI is moving at lightning speed, and really, in many ways, it is. But
Hmm.
inside of larger enterprises, what we've seen are that some aspects take longer than expected, and because of that, and one cause of that is because of the precision that it takes for the AI output to be useful and also usable for an organization. So whereas the content development cycle might have sped up, what we're seeing, like I was talking about earlier, is just the testing and recalibration phases take a lot more effort than you might have expected.
I love that, Joe. Useful and usable. Like stitch
Mm-hmm.
that on a pillow. That's beautiful. I love
I know what to get you for your birthday.
it. Thanks.
So in all the examples that you showed, Bethany, it took us several rounds of testing and recalibrating the AI model before the solution was ready to be deployed. And if we didn't do that, those simulations would have just fallen flat. We would have
Yep.
seen more detractors.
Yes.
They wouldn't have been as useful because they wouldn't have been aligned with a real world application. And
Mhm.
so, like you talked about, it took us analyzing and understanding what customers were actually thinking and feeling, and what they were actually saying when they approached customer service. It took us analyzing the environment and states of mind that the customer service reps are in when the customers approach them. And so it really is a deep exercise in the empathy of both audiences in this type of a simulation.
Yep.
Like it says here on slide, like getting the AI to output information quickly is the easy part, but getting it to be accurate, compliant, trustworthy, and just really aligned to your company's culture, that takes more time.
Yes.
And so, what are we navigating here? First of all, the question of content. Before AI and for decades into the past, L&D was measured by how efficiently it produced content. AI now produces content in seconds. So if all this content is so abundant, what is L&D uniquely accountable for?
Right. So I think the next thing we want to know from all of you is, are you having these conversations? And I'm guessing you probably are. And so what have been your main takeaways so far?
All right. Watching the chat. I
Okay.
love to hear about folks' takeaways. There's been so much rich discussion here.
Yeah. So like when it comes to like AI, like holistically within your organization, what are you talking about? What's like bubbling to the surface in those conversations?
Actually, just before you folks asked that question, Robert added, we found we had to take a lot of time and care to set up knowledge bases in just
Yep,
the right way so the model would
Hmm.
be useful.
Yep.
Right
we
on.
find that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes right back to what I was saying before too about building that relationship with your client so that you can have those conversations and build that knowledge base in an authentic way.
Oh, got some more.
Okay.
Stephanie adds, I have used AI to determine learning objectives, performance objectives based on banking trends, for example.
Love that.
Melody adds, there is now presumed room for scale, doing the things we did not have time for in the past, but accountability for the behavior change is still key. Oh, Melody, you're speaking my language. Yes, I love that. It's like I've been obsessed with that for a while. Thank you for saying that. Elizabeth adds, we've been using AI integrated in our existing tools. There's been interest in creating conversation sims, but early exploring right now.
Mhm.
That's exciting. That's exciting. James, creating content faster opens the ability to do individualized training, not just one size fits all, here, and respond to performance issues or knowledge gaps hyper quickly.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Eric adds, oh gosh, got a bunch coming in. Eric adds
Okay.
careful curation of content, say that 3 times fast, used by the AI to ensure our learning content properly reflects what we teach, not
Mm.
the breadth of the internet. Oh, so true.
Love that.
Right? Okay, Robert adds, we added a new pre-QA human review of the content for hallucinations with
Mm.
output fed back into the model for refinement to hopefully reduce that in the future.
So great. I mean, we do have to guard against hallucinations. I just was on a project this week where something came up and it said, "Oh, you got to change this paragraph," and that paragraph did not exist. It was a complete hallucination. So we need human eyeballs on everything.
Absolutely. Unpromptable. Berenice adds, honestly, I've never seen L&D accountable for just content. It should play a role in the ROI of the company. Oh my gosh, we're all speaking the same language here.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Morgan adds, my organization is the same as Elizabeth's in that we are using the AI tools that are already built into our software, but we are still seeing how it can be safely used in our industry. I work at an accounting firm where we work with lots of sensitive information.
Oh.
That caution makes a lot of sense in that case,
Hmm.
doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Rachel says we've taken pages of employee feedback from our annual survey, narrowed that down into 5 to 6 main skills, and then designed e-learning pathways in response to the skills they asked for. Engagement went up. That's
I
great.
love that. Let's stitch that on a
Awesome.
pillow. Because how relevant is that to like what's actually going on the ground, right? I think a lot of times as L&D professionals and working with our clients, we think this is the thing that is the issue. This is the problem that needs to be solved. This is how we're going to do it. And it might not be actually what people need. So tying that to the feedback from the annual survey. Ooh, I love that. Love that.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
I'm just realizing the time. We're getting
Oh,
Yep.
there.
okay. Okay.
So let's move forward.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Okay. So what we're seeing and some of the headwinds we're navigating are that people outside of L&D can create training with AI. Some leaders are questioning centralized development, and there's been an explosion of learning assets that can be lacking a solid architecture around them. And so our viewpoint really needs to change. AI isn't a feature, it's not going away. It's really a capability layer across our enterprise. And so enterprise wide means that we're also navigating tool overload and random and disconnected experimentation, which again, may be even with unimproved AI tools.
Hmm.
What we're what we're seeing the most effective companies and teams do is to redefine their goals so that they're more focused around performance outcomes. The trap is just buying a subscription to a tool and falling into that age-old saying that if you have a hammer, all your problems seem like nails. And so forward-thinking teams really need to redefine their goals around performance outcomes. They need to be designing ecosystems, not just courses, need to become curators and architects of the knowledge flow, and AI needs to be built into the workflow, not just the LMS.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm getting at here, it's not a win for L&D to say AI reduces the time needed for content development. The win is to show that your learning solutions are making your employees more capable. You can provide faster performance support, more personalization, and better decision-making at scale, and it takes you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So Bethany,
Yeah.
circling back to the examples you mentioned, did they add to the learner's capabilities?
Yes. Wait, I have more to say. Okay, so we heard from our partner about how much their employees, first of all, are enjoying using the solutions, right? But it's also making an impact on the ground with customer satisfaction, which was the goal of it all to begin with. And my favorite thing to tell you, Joe, is that folks are using these tools over and over. So like, for example, with, it's the cartoon simulation, but there are some folks who are turning that into a competition to see who can achieve the best score, who can get all green, who can, resolve that problem the best for that customer. So that just makes my heart really happy.
Okay, that's great. So let's talk more about proving impact.
Okay. So, Joe, if we're concentrated on quality over quantity, like what impact are we able to prove from the use of AI tools in L&D?
First of all, AI learning solutions can be configured in so many different ways. I just want to acknowledge that this is another new area where we're seeing L&D investing their time to be able to provide, the institutional expertise or really the knowingness of the real world situations that their learners are in, which are necessary to determine the metrics that are going to be useful for their organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And so just with that said, here are some great ways that AI is able to level up traditional impact metrics. We get to provide in the moment metrics, like in the examples you showed, Bethany. Learners get real-time feedback that's based on the quality of their responses. We've always been able to give question level feedback based on an answer selection. And in traditional multiple choice, learners could guess, they could see one choice that wasn't like the others, and then you get a score for that. In the AI simulations that you just showed, the learners had to actually prove several different quality metrics that were just within those simulations. So the AI is able to evaluate the quality of the learner's response. It elevates the user experience right there in real time.
Yep.
Traditionally, course completions were, in some part, the mark of success in training rollouts. But if we say we got 80% or we got 95% of people to complete a module, we're basically just measuring exposure. Yeah. Now, with AI, we can level that up because it allows us to measure the actual attainment of the skill. And so, for instance, now we're saying 85% of the learners reached a full proficiency, for instance, in objection handling. Mm-hmm. And then where we used to report back on whether learners liked a training assignment, we can now expand and understand their behavior in the learning experience. If a learner takes 1 minute to answer a simulation prompt question versus 3 seconds, that tells us a story.
Yeah,
they might get the answer right eventually, but the behavior shows that they haven't reached, what we would say is an unconscious competence, that would be needed for a real world situation. Yeah. So AI can create a lot of content quickly, but it takes human intelligence and our institutional expertise to use the AI to create learning experiences that are going to achieve, what we as learning professionals and what your organizations will consider as successful. So it's up to us.
Absolutely. So, that just means that the art of the flex, what we're calling our presentation today, rests in your hands. So AI is providing the scale, but your human insight provides the direction. So this is about embracing your role as a designer of these new systems, and that helps you to lead your organization into a future where technology and human touch coexist effectively. So before we move on to the Q&A, I want to just remind everyone that the next webinar session is about using data to create adaptive AI experiences, and you will be with our technical folks who can answer all of your technical questions. And Tiffany is going to just dropped into the chat, a link to sign up for that seminar.
I sure did. I dropped the link into for the whole series into chat there. So go ahead and sign up. Bethany and Joe, thank you for your highly engaging and energetic presentation. That was a great conversation. Folks who are attending today, if you enjoyed today's conversation, we hope you'll join us next week, as Bethany said. Same time, different Zoom link, so do register. That link again is in chat. And we also invite you to check out our full L&D and Talent Trends report. You got a few quote previews from Bethany, but this report just came out literally last night, overnight. So you will be among the first unpromptable humans to view the report. You'll find a discussion of this evolving role of the L&D leader, as well as 9 key trends to keep top of mind this year and beyond. And I'll drop that into chat as well. And let's pop over. Above all, we'd love to answer your questions or learn further about any experiences or insights that you might have around these topics. Folks, if you've got anything, feel free to put it into Q&A or chat. I've got an eye on both of those.
We're happy to tell you that we can't answer more technical questions.
Next, please. Got a few folks expressing that they found this webinar really helpful. They enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, folks. That's great to hear.
And I want to say too, I love all of the stuff that came up in the chat, and it's already given me so many things to think about and go back to my client and talk about, or just even internally to broaden our conversations about what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Absolutely. Oh, Melissa can't wait to learn more. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you next week, Melissa. Hope so. Diane said it was very helpful. Recording, Mariella, I believe we'll be sending that out. We'll send out an email with that. So all of these sessions will be recorded. So if you want to binge watch or you miss one, we'd be happy to help you out with that recording.
I love the idea of people binge watching this. Maybe
Well,
when you
heck
wake up in the
yes.
middle of the night and need to do your customer service seminar, you can also watch this for fun.
Absolutely. Why not? Why not? Well, folks, if you don't have any questions, we'll stick around for a couple more minutes. But thank you so much for your active participation today. We've loved, hearing from you, seeing your questions and comments. It just made the discussion that much richer.
Yeah, and I know you see our LinkedIn profiles on here. Joe and I would love to connect with you, or you can certainly feel free to email either of us if you have things you want to talk about, including
Absolutely.
semicolons. I'm always up for a great conversation.
Always happy to talk about punctuation. It's fun.
That's right.
Absolutely. Jody Ann says it takes a community. Absolutely. Oh, James put in a bunch of semicolons. Thank you,
Oh,
James.
love it, James.
Great send
I
off.
see, Tiffany, I think Mary's got a comment in there too.
Oh, did I? Oh gosh. Yeah, I missed that. Okay. Yeah, sometimes it feels like people use AI as a time shortcut, but
Mhm.
using AI, especially from a human-centered place, love that, still requires planning. How do you make space for that planning in your organization? Ooh.
That's an awesome question. Mary is not a plant, I swear, but I think that this is something that's been a learning curve from my end, at least, and I think from my client side, to really understand the amount of planning that goes into this and the amount of iteration from figuring out what those avatars look like to figuring out what the experience is going to feel like, how the feedback will be integrated. So I think that we did assume it made everything have a shorter runway. And I think it just is on a different runway, right? So, I'm really blessed with my client to have folks who are willing to experiment with us and figure things out. We're building that. It's another airport metaphor. We're building that plane as we're flying it a little bit. But when you have great partnership and you have that candor and you have that really great collaboration, you can figure those things out together. And that's what we've been doing.
That's such an important point. Okay, Eric mentions it's important not to focus on making the perfect prompt. AI works better through iteration and conversation. Too many people focus on a one size fits all. Absolutely, Eric.
Yep.
Kathleen asks, do clients really appreciate having these skills? I'm thinking Kathleen probably means the collaboration, communication, planning skills, not positive.
Yeah, that's a good, maybe Kathleen can follow up. Do you mean having the AI skills, the communication skills? We'd love to have a little bit more to answer that question.
While we're waiting for that from Kathleen, I'll move on to Berenice's comment. Berenice says, I think of AI as a strategic partner. It can be used for many things, but that's how I think we need to relate to it in our field. I think that it's about how to make it be that just right partner, because you're not just finding it, you got to build it,
Yeah,
building the airplane while you're
absolutely.
flying it.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Kathleen clarified everything we bring to the job, AI skills.
Yeah, I think that like for my example, and I swear I'll let Joe talk, but it's yes, I think they do appreciate that we're bringing it because they're not experts in this, right? So next week I think you'll learn so much more about the deep expertise that SweetRush has on the technical side, and it's been a learning curve for me as an instructional designer who's been doing this for 20 something years to integrate this toolkit into my box, right? Like these are things I didn't know a year ago that I'd be thinking about or talking about. So yeah, I think that our clients do appreciate that and understand that we're learning too as we go.
I totally
Mhm.
agree. And I would say, we worked with our clients and we're really learning how to perfect, our use of these AI tools that we're using with our clients across the last 2 years. So it's been great to carry that forward and be able to just share our expertise with new clients.
Yep.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the AI so-called revolution, whatever you want to call it, has been compared with, the Industrial Revolution, the dawn of the internet, like all these really impactful changes in our society. And we're going to have to learn together, that we've got to accept that we're stepping into electricity. Yes, Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah, heck yes. We've got to, step into this together and really support each other and just bring that spirit of curiosity and exploration to the table.
Hmm.
Amazing. Looks like the questions are slowing up. So it's a great time to thank everybody yet again, invite them back. Please join us again. It would be fun to do this all over again next week with different presenters, but same spirit of exploration and curiosity. So please, let's get
Tiffany,
together.
one last thing I just noticed in the chat. I want to call out Stephanie because I made her laugh out loud because she's a formatting and grammar geek. So props to Stephanie, and I'm right there with you.
Yes, we're not alone. We are not alone. Thank goodness. Thank you, folks. It's been wonderful today, and we will follow up with you about the recording. Thanks so much.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you
Have
all.
a good one.